Welcome to On Texas Football. It's state of the program time. I'm Bobby Burton, joined by Rod Babers. State of the program each and every Wednesday, brought to you by Adam Loy, the Loy Law Firm. It's National Signing Day today, Rod, but we wanted to take a little broader perspective like we like to do on state of the program and talk about it this way. I want to go position by position and get your feel and maybe give my own a little bit about what we think of each room. And when we say room, what we're really talking about is the quarterback room, the running back room. How are they positioned now, adding into what they've done in recruiting and even some in the portal? How do they sit versus where we think they need to sit? Like, I mean, are they a B? Are they a B plus? Are they an A plus? Are they a C? You know, what is the question that we need to really go into? There's not going to be, I will say this isn't 3 years ago. When you and I, if we would have done these grades, it would have been some C's, maybe some D's. I mean, the offensive line 3 years ago had only 9 players on scholarship. So there will be some burnt orange colored glasses now, but it's also a top 4 team, college football playoff team with 3 consecutive, riding the wave of 3 consecutive top 5 classes. So of course it's going to be different. Let's start, Rod, with the quarterback room. Overall, your thoughts on it right now, given that we think Quinn Ewers is likely returning.
Yeah, with the likelihood that Quinn Ewers returning, I'm gonna say, in just the overall health of the room, I'm giving it an A. You got multiple 5-star quarterbacks in the same room. First of all, the transfer portal era, that's just tough to do. Right? And Arch Manning, obviously, now is officially the backup with Malik being gone. And then Quinn Ewers, we expect coming back as a veteran quarterback, guys. I mean, that means not a lot of quarterbacks in college football that are going to be more experienced than Quinn Ewers. You're going to have one of the most experienced quarterbacks in all of college football coming back. And then you're going to have Arch Manning, a 5-star prodigy behind him learning. And then shout out to my man, Trey Owens. I'm a big Trey Owens fan. I like him as a player. I think Trey Owens is highly underrated, got a great young skill set. And I think the quarterback room, because Sark has prioritized it since day one, I'm going to give it an A in terms of its health overall.
I agree. I mean, is there a better backup that you could have with more potential than Arch Manning in the country, alongside a returning starter that completed 70% of his passes this year?
Yeah.
Name someone that's better situated. You can't.
It'll be tough. Yeah.
And that's what we're talking about. I mean, I give it an A plus. I mean, it's a strength of the team. That's something that Steve Sarkisian brings to the table. And I think we need to, call it what it is, right? I mean, that's just the reality. Running back is a little bit different, right? Because this is one where Jonathan Brooks wasn't the bluest of blue chips. Now, he played like it as a junior, right? But now he's been injured. Cedric Baxter has been a little dinged up the whole time he's been in Austin, even though he's a true freshman. Jaden Blue looks like a guy that can be a dude down the line now, right? Especially with his speed. We don't know where Savion Red fits. And then you have Christian Clark and Jarrett Gibson coming along, as well as Trey Wisner.
Yeah.
It feels like there may not be a superstar in that group, except for Brooks being that top end guy. And maybe Cedric Baxter is that guy too. But I don't know that there's a Bijan Robinson there. It's more like running back by pretty darn good committee. Is that a fair statement right now?
We talk about the health of the rooms, can I include the coaches?
Yes, absolutely.
Coaches included?
Yeah.
Yes, Tashard Choice is one of the best young coaches in the country, and running back coach. Hell, man, I don't know if there is a better running back coach in the country. He's in that conversation. So we know the guy can develop talent. You're right. There's not a Bijan in this group in terms of them being a superstar, but I think you got a lot of quality players with very varied skill sets. And I think that's important, right? You talked about Jaden Blue. They said Jaden Blue may be the fastest running back in the country. At least he was clocked real time as the fastest ball carrier at the running back position in the country by real analytics. Jay Brooks, right? We talked about him being a patient runner. Him at the second level making guys miss. He's got his own skill set that's really valuable. You talk about CJ Baxter, a guy that may be able to run in between the tackles, bring some more power element to your run game. He's got a lot of different guys you can throw in the mix. And I said this before, and I'll say it again. I've been tracking it for the last 3 years. There is no package on the 40 acres that is more explosive, more efficient, all right, and actually more effective than the pony package. 2 tailback sets. It was the case when Bijan and Rojo were here. I thought it would regress, and so did Sark this season after Bijan and Rojo. We were both wrong. It is still your most effective personnel grouping. You should not let that fall off with Jay Brooks, with Jaden Blue, with CJ Baxter and that crew. So I think Sark's actually going to be playing a little bit more 2-back sets coming up in the future.
Likely losing right now for sure Keelan Robinson, possibly losing Jonathan Brooks. We don't know that for sure. And so it's kind of hard to say, okay, this is the definitive grade going into spring. I do like the 2 freshmen that are coming in, Christian Clark and Jarrett Gibson. Both of those guys, Rod, as well as Trey Owens, are midterm enrollees. So they'll be on campus early. So we'll see them in the spring to get a feel for them. I would give, without Jonathan Brooks, I have to go a B+ right now. With Jonathan Brooks, I would go an A-. What do you think in that regard?
I'm gonna go. Honestly, I'm gonna go B without Jay Brooks, just a straight up B. With Jay Brooks, yeah, I'll go A. I'll go A to A-, because I still think there's some Keelan Robinson. Your great point about him being gone. He was a unique element to the running back room, man, and Sark designed up plays specifically for him. You might have to have somebody else kind of fill in that role.
Yeah, fair enough. All right, let's move to wide receiver. This one is one that's going to be all over the map, and it may depend on what ends up happening in the portal, right? Because gone ostensibly are going to be Adonai Mitchell, Xavier Worthy, and Jordan Whittington. Your 3 top your 3 top receivers overall, 3 top wide receivers. So that leaves you really with Jonte Cook, DeAndre Moore, and Ryan Niblett, and now they add Matthew Golden. Okay. They're likely going to get another one from the portal. Incoming are true freshmen Parker Livingstone, Ryan Wingo, as well as Parker Livingstone, Ryan Wingo, and Freddie DeBose. Yeah. And maybe Aaron Hampton gets a look at wide receiver too. All right. So my question to you is, this looks like on paper the least experienced position on the roster, even with Matthew Golden coming in and his 38 catches this past year. I see you nodding your head, kind of shaking. Yes.
Yeah.
You agree with that?
Yeah, I do. And I know we'll get to, tight end and other stuff here, but you're talking about the passing game overall. The passing game is going to have to rely on a lot of unproven commodities, right? And I'm with you on Matthew. That's why I think Matthew Golden will penetrate that circle of trust, right? Sark has a really tight rotation of wide receivers, 3 to 4 guys. I think he'll penetrate it. I think Jonte Cook is already in that circle of trust. Don't forget, we also lost a couple of guys via the transfer portal. Isaiah Nayor, Casey Kane, that used to be a depth guy. Right now, unfortunately for the wide receivers, and I like the young guys you're bringing in. You just brought up DeAndre Moore, Parker Livingstone. We talked to him. He's a great young player. He's early enrollee, right? I'm not enrollee, but practicing with the team already with the bowl games. That's why him and Ryan Wingo. I'm gonna go right now with I hate to do it. I'm gonna go C+ right now because I just don't know anything about these guys. I like Jonte Cook. I really like Matthew Golden. But if we're going off what they've already done and it's kind of the uncertainty of that group, I got to go C+ right now. I just don't know much about them.
And I think that's a fair grade, and I'll tell you why. It's hard. It's easy to say, well, they got all this talent. They're young. We saw them. They're a 5-star. They're this, they're that. Well, there's always the transition that we have to see first, too. And that's what we have. Other than Cook, nobody really has put anything out there that said, including DeAndre Moore, nobody's put anything out there that says, hey, wait a minute, we got to pay attention to him a little bit more. Yeah. So I think that's fair. All right, before
we talked about the running back room last year, though, too. But just think about that. They probably got a C+ last year. Look where they are now. So,
yes, I agree. That's a fair point. All right. Before we move on to the tight ends, I want to say thank you to Adam Lowy, the Lowy Law Firm. Adam and his group have been helping injured Texans for 20+ years now. Give him a call, 512-280-0800, or visit him at loweylawfirm.com. That's 280-0800, area code 512 there in Austin, or visit him at loweylawfirm.com. If you've been injured in a car wreck or on the job, Adam and his firm will give you a free consultation. Just give them a shout or visit them at loweylawfirm.com. All right, tight end. All right. Ooh. This depends heavily on Jatavian Sanders' return.
Yeah.
Because Gunnar Helm, I think everybody would raise their hand and say, do we like what we saw from Gunnar Helm this year? Everybody would raise their hand and say, yes, we do, right? I think every Texas fan to a man. All right. But behind him, we have Juan Davis, who didn't really see any
Play it off.
prime time action. We have Spencer Shannon, who's a pup. I mean, he's still young. He looks good, but he's young. And you have Will Randall, who spent a lot of time injured this year, right? If you lose Jatavian Sanders, and we think it's 75-25, he's going pro. Mm-hmm. That means you probably need, even with Jordan Washington coming in, the tight end out of Langham Creek, that's pretty good. You're going to need an older guy to join in with Gunnar Helm, in my opinion. I mean, and so I almost want to give. I hate to do this, but it's almost like an incomplete, because I think Gunnar Helm is a solid B+ kind of guy now. Yeah. He's on the verge of becoming an NFL player, which I think is great. But the depth in the room, vis-a-vis the age of it, is not exactly where you want it to be for next year. Now, at the end of next year, when Spencer Shannon's a second year old, got that whole year, things might change. You know what I mean? But that first 6 to 8 games next year, the type, they need somebody, I think, early next year. What if Sanders goes pro?
If Sanders goes pro, if he comes back, I mean, hell, they get A.
A+.
Yeah. But I'm with you about bringing a veteran to stabilize it, right? That's kind of what, A.D. Mitchell did that with the wide receiver group, right? We talked about starting with a tight group, circle of wide receivers, a tight rotation, brought in a veteran like A.D. Mitchell and stabilized that. I think they're going to do that with Makuba this year with the secondary too. I'm with you. I think incomplete is a perfect grade to give to it. You don't want to be unfair and dog these young guys and give them a bad grade, because we don't know anything about those young guys. So yeah, I'm with you. If I had to give them a grade, I'd probably go in the same realm of the wide receivers. I'd probably go with a C+ for now, because I just don't know much about there's not a lot of proven commodities in there except for Gunnar Helm.
Yep. I feel like they've got guys, but I think they need one more guy that's ready for sure next year. All right, let's go to offensive line. I mentioned the outset here, Rod. You and I both did, dude. I mean, 2 years ago, it was just a mess. Fast forward 2.5, 3 years later, since Kyle Flood and Steve Sarkisian came in, and now I think it's a veritable strength of the team. I really do. Kelvin Banks is going to be an NFL player. I think that you look around. I think DJ Campbell, Jake Majors likely coming back, although he hasn't announced it yet. Cole Hudson with so many starts, Hayden Connor with so many starts, Cam Williams. Really looking like the guy at right tackle. And then you have a guy like Neto involved. And then you have younger guys, Trevor Gooseby and Jaden Chapman, that are already looking good. I mean, I don't know that they're an A+ unit, but I think they're an A- for sure, coming from what must have been a D 2 years or 3 years ago. I mean, it is that while quarterback has been a big change, Sam Ehlinger was a good player.
Yeah,
the offensive line, though, that's been the biggest quantum change, I think, of any position over the last 3 years. Would you agree with that?
There's no question. That's why they got a tagline, right? Big humans. Because I'm with you. Texas had elite quarterback play, recently. They've had, Sam Ehlinger was an all-conference player drafted into the NFL. In terms of line play, Texas has been suffering for a few years in terms of trench play on the line, offensive line specifically. So I'm with you to see how these high caliber guys who are not only that, but you're talking about a group that's played together for a long time. Christian Jones, the only guy that's leaving, they're bringing back 4 starters. They're bringing back multiple guys who've already contributed in place of other guys missing starts like Cam Williams and DJ Campbell. I think they get an A from me. They're close to being an A+. And this is why I think, although you may have some questions at other positions on offense, like wide receiver, maybe like tight end, man, the offensive line and quarterback of this team, pretty much, that actually should give you a huge boost, and it should help those other positions, learn on the job. They should have time for growing pains, because your offensive line next year should be one of the best in the country. No guy. It should be a top 5 O-line in the country. That's basically what I'm saying. You're bringing back 4 starters. You got a first-round pick on that O-line in Kelvin Banks. You probably got another couple of draft picks on that line as well. It's been a while since Texas had multiple NFL draft picks playing on the same O-line.
With a 4-year starter at center.
Yeah.
I mean, because he's making all the calls, and he's been in Sark's offense for 4 years. third year. I mean, I agree. The offense, the offense as a whole looks good. Yes, there are places you could pick at it, right? At wide receiver right now, because you don't know for sure who they're going to get else in the portal. You could pick it tight end a little bit because you don't know if JT Sanders is returning. You could pick it running back because Jonathan Brooks may not be returning. But, I mean, look, it's like we said when we started this, 3 straight top 5 classes and doing well in the portal, that has a way to change your roster. That has a way to change it. All right, let's move on to defense, Rod. And I want to put the defensive line and the edges together because there's more attrition on the interior than there is the exterior. We know that, right? So Byron Murphy and Tavondre Sweat on. We believe Alfred Collins is also going. Wow. So that means your top 3 on the interior are gone from one single season, and that was a strength of this year's team.
Yep.
All right. But you have behind them Trill Carter, Sadil Mitra, Vernon Broughton. You bring Aaron Bryant. You're bringing in guys like Alex January, DeAndre Robinson, Melvin Hills. You're bringing in all those guys, but you're not. It's a big loss. I think that's only fair to say. At the same time, you're getting older on the edges, right? Barron Sorrell's got another. He'll be a third-year starter next year. Ethan Burke will be a second-year starter. Justice Finkley got more reps. Jamon Tapp getting older. Colton Vosick comes back. And then you add in guys like Colin Simmons and Zeno Zulu, and all of a sudden it just feels like I would say that next year I would expect a C to a B in that line. But a year out from then, I could see a B to an A. Does that make sense to you? Like, I feel like they're 1 year away from basically repopulating that at an elite level. What do you think?
And I'm with you. And I guess the strength of the D line just kind of shifts from the interior like the last 2 years now. And kind of hopefully it shifts to the edges. I think we all are predicting and projecting that with Ethan Burke. Barron Sorrell is going to be much better. You're going to add in a prodigy with a guy like Colin Simmons. So I'm with you on that. And I think once again, I go back to the coach, Bo Davis, who's considered to be one of the top 3 best D-line coaches in the country, specifically on the interior D-line. And I think there's a lot of faith in Bo Davis' ability to develop talent, that he will get the younger guys, even though they're unproven commodities, that he'll get them up to speed and they'll be playing at a much higher level, just because we've seen it the last 2 years. The transformation of Keandre Coburn, right, from being a situational early down run stop defender to being the player that he became, to being an every down defender that can be a draft pick in the NFL. That was phenomenal. Moro Ojima, what he did with him, Tavondre Sweat, now the best interior D lineman in the country, best D tackle duo in the country. That's all because, I think you got the best interior D-line coach in the country in Bo Davis. So I think we don't want to see Alfred Collins come back and be that war daddy. He was supposed to be the next up. I think now the expectation is, if it's Vernon Broughton, if it's Sadir Mitchell, whoever it is, Bo Davis will find the right guy. And I think it's more faith in Bo Davis.
Trill Carter in that group too. That another guy that saw snaps, increased number of snaps, by the way, as the season went on. So that may be a guy that's getting baked in the oven a little bit right now.
I'll go B right now. I'll just go straight up B because I like the edges. I like Ethan Burke. I think he's got some natural pass rush ability. I love Barron Sorrell. He's a worker. He just gets better and better, more reps he gets. And I think bringing in a prodigy like Colin Simmons, he's going to play right away, because what I always say, you can't teach pass rush ability. And the young guys who can pass rush, they're going to play early situationally. So he's going to be thrown in the mix.
Anthony Hill did it at linebacker this year.
Exactly.
2 sacks against Bama. You can't teach disruptive plays. That's really. And it doesn't matter where that comes from. I think it's also interesting. You mentioned Bo Davis and his penchant for development. There's a reason why one of the nation's top defensive tackles committed to Texas on Tuesday. That's a 2025 recruit out of O'Galley, Florida, Brandon Brown.
No, you're right about that. They know. No, I was at an event talking to Trill Carter about this, actually. So I was just asking him, hey man, so what made you choose Texas? And he started bringing up the D-line coach, DN coach, I think it is, at Ohio State. What's his name?
Larry Johnson.
Larry Johnson. And he was like, well, basically, I had to choose between, I was thinking about going to Ohio State with Larry Johnson, but Bo Davis was the choice that he makes. He said they're the two best D-line coaches in the country. That was his words. He said, and I had the chance, I wanted to work with either one of those guys, and he chose Bo Davis in Texas. But that's let you know, Bo Davis is in that conversation from the player's perspective, that he's one of the top two best D-line coaches in the country.
Got it. All right, talk about linebackers, where Texas clearly loses a team leader. Really the guy that connected the front of the defense to the back of the defense in Jalen Ford. All right, we think David Binda is contemplating heavily returning next season. That has not been public. He's not said anything publicly in that regard, but that would be a big knock. Obviously, we talked about playmakers. Anthony Hill returns. That's a big one for Texas as well. And then behind him, Leonga Lafau, Samaje Burrell, Darian Gillette, you name it. There's a bunch of different guys that we could talk about. The thing that this one is like that I think is interesting. If Binda returns, I'm confident enough to give it an A, because reality is Anthony Hill can be that good.
Yep,
he can be a difference maker, and difference maker raises the grade of the entire unit, in my opinion. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I love what you said about you can't teach disruptive play. He's a havoc-minded defender. He's got speed that can take him sideline to sideline. He can rush the passer. He can be your version of Micah Parsons. You can move him all around the formation if you want to.
Rod, he hits you go down.
Pretty much. Yeah, exactly, right?
Jalen Milroe doesn't go down easily, right? I mean, we've seen that. I mean, he had an unbelievable year after Texas got finished with him. The play that he made in the open field against Oklahoma State.
Amazing.
The play he made on Taj Boyd in the open field against Texas Tech.
Yeah.
Those are man plays from an 18-year-old.
He's a force.
And so I agree. Add Binda to that. You have some experience. You have still a young guy learning.
They like Mo Blackwell a little bit. You think Mo Blackwell got a shot?
What about Mo? Yeah. Yep. Should have mentioned him. Because they use him, like you've talked about this, instead of playing a true dime, they use Mo Blackwell as that dime defender.
He's like a hybrid for him. So they put him out there. Yeah.
Yeah. And so instead of going 6 DBs, they use 5 and add Mo Blackwell, and that's essentially their 6 DB, and they don't lose too much edge.
That's exactly right.
Yeah. Interesting. What do you think you give them?
I'm gonna go right now with a B. I'm just going to go with a B. I'm tempted to go with a B plus because I'm with you. Anthony Hill could just put them on the top, even if you don't get enough from Binda. But I like some of the young linebackers. I wonder if Mo Blackwell will stay in that hybrid role, if they'll add some weight to him, try to make him a true linebacker. I like the linebacker class they had last year with some of the young bucks. Lafau. They had some other good players in that class. I think the linebacker, I think 2 or 3 guys.
Gillette is a guy that we're looking at.
Yeah.
Also, Samaje Burrell.
Burrell.
We just don't know enough because, frankly, the coaches don't know enough about those guys yet, right?
Yep.
They're going to see them in these winter practices, and then we'll all see them, I think, come this spring a little bit.
Yeah.
So it's going to be an interesting group. All right, let's go to the DBs because this is your. I'm going to let you kind of wax poetic here a little bit. Not only do we have Terrence Brooks, Gavin Holmes, Malik Muhammad, Austin Jordan, Jadlin Gilbo coming back. You also have Derek Williams, Michael Taft. Gone, we think, at least at this time, Jahdae Barron, Keaton Crawford, Jaron Thompson.
Yep.
Right? And Ryan Watts.
Yep.
Yeah. So, but we have young guys coming in. We've talked about it. Warren Roberson's looked good. Jelani McDonald has been a favorite of coaches we hear. But then you have Xavier Filsaime, Wardell Mack, goodness gracious, Kobe Black, also Santana Wilson, all those freshmen. If the offensive line was the biggest change on offense from 3 years ago, the secondary looks like it's going to be the biggest change in a year from now. Not right away next year.
Yeah.
Late next year when all those true freshmen and all those true sophomores and a couple of the juniors get more seasoning, they're going to come on a little bit 6th, 7th, 8th game of next year. That's my opinion. And I give them a B for that. And I think they're going to be higher later in the year.
And that's why, can I include Makuba in this?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Absolutely. I even forgot about that.
That's why he's so important, Bobby, because you're right up at the youth. They got a lot of talented youth. The upside in the secondary is tremendous right now. With Malik Muhammad, Terrence Brooks out there, Derek Williams at the safety position. It's tremendous. You do need a stabilizing force. A lot of youth, a lot of inexperience, a lot of growing pains to be had. And that's why I think you're at the B side. I'm with you. If you get Makuba in there, a veteran, and especially at nickel, if that's what they're actually going to play him at nickel, I think it would work at safety. I've talked about the central nervous system of your defense, the communication center. You need guys in there with high football IQ and with a lot of experience that also helps. I think Makuba could come in and take them from a B to a B plus. Just his presence alone, I think it will do that. He can be that stabilizing force in the right position. So right now, I'm going to go, just because I'm a second, I'm a DBU guy, so I got some of the burnt orange glasses on. I really like this group. I'm going B plus with the DBs. Because I think it was young. I think Phil Simi, when he comes in, he's going to be on the same track as Derek Williams. He's going to be playing sooner rather than later because he can cover. There are certain things that you can't coach and you can't develop, right? You have to recruit, and speed, we talked about it. Pass rushing ability is one of those, and coverage is one of those. Those young guys can cover. Derek Williams is best coverage safety right now, and he's just a freshman. I think the same thing will be true when Phil Simi comes in. Those young guys are going to play early. Hell, look at Malik Muhammad playing early. They putting him out there. Nickel is the one thing that concerns me, but they're going to put Makuba there. I'm not as concerned.
This is interesting because it's almost like you talked about that stabilizing force. That's what we're talking about at tight end, right?
Yeah.
They need a 1-year stabilizing force at tight end so the other guys get the chance. It's the same kind of thought process. All right, I want to go over the specialist as well. We don't know what's going to happen at punter. Michael Kern out of St. Thomas Aquinas is scheduled to come in. He's a true freshman. They may look in the portal at the last minute, but at kicker and kickoff, you have, I think you have an A, right? Bert Auburn has been money. Will Stone has been really good kickoff. I mean, I don't know what else you could want. I think incomplete, though, at punter. You agree with that?
I agree with that. And are we talking all specialties, even returners? Because
those are separate. I'm just talking about the specialties.
All right. We're just talking about that. What about long snapper? Are we good at long snapper?
Yeah, I think he's only a sophomore. There you
go. So yeah, most of your specialists, you should be good. Bert Auburn was fan. I mean, he's a first team all conference kicker. I didn't see that happening at the beginning of the season. So I'm with you. Punter would be an issue, but once again, I'm gonna go back to the coach in the room. I trust me some Jeff Banks. I do. I think he's a hell of a coach. Probably should be a head coach sooner rather than later. I think he's a hell of a coach. He won't let something like that go unaddressed. He'll have a plan for it. So I think that they'll be okay there. So I'll go with a B plus. I think you're pretty good everywhere except punter. You don't know there, but man, I trust me some Jeff Banks. He ain't let me down yet.
All right, now the return game where they lose Keelan Robinson in a kick return and they lose Xavier Worthy in punt return. Coverage should be strong. They were strong in coverage, and I think they bring back everybody that ran down on coverage this year.
It's great athletes. The recruiting classes, they're good.
Yeah, exactly. That's what y'all used to do, Rod.
Yep. All those great athletes, they just go on coverage teams.
Yeah, the young athletes go on the coverage teams and earn their stripes, and then they start seeing time on the field, but they get a taste of the real thing on special teams first. So, I think the coverage of teams should be great. They're going to lose Robinson and Crawford, though, as gunners. What does that look like? And then you lose your returners. You think Matthew Golden is the guy at returner, though. He may even be an improvement or looks to be an improvement over Keelan Robinson as a returner, which is just kind of unheard of, but true.
Yeah, and think about punt return. That's interesting because I even heard Xavier Worthy talk about this. Xavier Worthy didn't return punts in high school. But when Sark and company got him to Texas, they insisted, no, you're going to return punts here because you're that dynamic. So they just pick a guy they think is good at it. And obviously, you got to have the hands. They trusted his hands, I think, more than anything. They were like, hey, man, your hands are good. We need to secure the damn punt, number one. That's you. And in the open field, you're a threat. You're lethal. I wonder if they'll go this year with something like that with punt return. Try to find somebody who got sure hands, but who also has dynamic speed. That is a concern. I think they're going to be good because they recruit a lot of speed offensively, and they're going to find one of those speed guys. And maybe it's Matthew Golden. I don't know. Maybe he can return punts too. I mean, that's a possibility.
Well, I will say this. DeAndre Moore, don't forget that name.
Okay.
He was the replacement for Xavier Worthy when Worthy went out a couple times. So that may be the next guy. We'll see. I mean, I think your issue about hands is accurate. All right, we got to get out of here. But this has been the State of the Program, brought to you by Adam Lowy, the Lowy Law Firm. He's been helping injured Texans for decades. Give him a shout, 512-280-0800, or visit him at lowylawfirm.com. If you've been injured on the job or in a car wreck, give Adam and his group a call for a free consultation. Before I say anything else, before we close out the State of the Program, Rod, the initial one with you and me talking, overall team grade on talent, is next year kind of young with all those top 5 classes on the come a little bit? It's going to be junior and sophomore heavy team as opposed to a senior heavy team. Like this year felt like a senior heavy team, right?
They inherited all those guys. These all guys they inherited pretty much.
Yeah, Ford, Whittington,
Dave Barron, those are all they're guys they inherited.
Rangers, Christian Jones, Sweat, Murphy, those guys.
Yeah.
You feel like this is like a team next year that's going to be a year away, maybe, from being what they could be.
Yeah, because basically the new version of this Sark team next season is going to have a lot of new faces at key positions. But I do think because you have a veteran quarterback possibly returning, I think that gives you a huge advantage because that you have a veteran O-line, a veteran quarterback. To me, I don't know if there are more important positions to have veteran leadership in, and you're going to have it at O-line and at quarterback. That's, to me, I'll look past all the other growing pains they're going to have.
Interesting. All right. Well, they'll be in the SEC next year too, Rod. All right. For Rod Babers, I'm Bobby Burton. This has been State of the Program, brought to you by Adam Lowy and the Lowy Law Firm. Hook 'em.